What is up, guys? My name is Rob Donaldson, and welcome back to Rob's Best Bets, episode number 172. And in this video, in the same essence as last week, we're going to be getting out ahead of these lines for the rest of the week in the football world. So, college football, NFL, week 2 NFL, and week 3 college football. And we have 11 bets to place in this video. And man, I'm not just saying this. I love both of these slates for the rest of the week, and I am so excited to talk about it as well. That said, before we jump into the picks, I just want to give a massive shout out to Underdog Fantasy for sponsoring today's video. And if you do want to get involved with the pick'em videos that we do on this channel, or post on Twitter, or just want to take part in some of their daily contests, head over there and use my promo code ROBDFB at sign up, and they will match your first $100 up to 100%. And now, for our first pick of the day, we are starting off in the NFL, and we're heading out to Arizona, where we have the Cardinals taking on the Giants, and the optics could not have been worse for the Giants on Sunday Night Football, getting absolutely stomped by a division rival in the Cowboys. But that's one of those where, as a bettor, and even as a team, you just flush it and move on. I mean, the weather was absolutely awful. Their confidence was shot early, and the Cowboys were amped out of their minds right out of the gate. And I think things go a lot more smoothly for the G-men here in week 2. So let's take them, laying the 5.5 points for 2 units for our first play of the week 2 slate. For pick number 2, we are heading down to Atlanta, where we have the Falcons taking on the Packers. And despite the dogs on this Packers defense, I really do think Atlanta finds ways to put up points here. And on the other side, I really think Jordan Love could be the real deal. And let's take the over here of 40.5 points for 2 units for our second play of week 2. For pick number 3, we are heading on south to Duval County, where we have the Jags taking on the Chiefs. And I could not have been more impressed with Trevor Lawrence and this Jaguars team and their comeback win over the Colts last Sunday. And with the Chiefs, I think they're going to be in for a figuring it out period in the early goings this season, even with Chris Jones coming back this week and potentially Travis Kelce as well suiting up for them. But I really like the Jags here, so let's take them, getting the 3.5 points for 2 units for our third play of the day. For pick number 4, we are taking a look at tomorrow's ball game. That's right, Thursday Night Football, and we've got a fun one between the Eagles and the Vikings, and I'll just come out and say it. I like the Vikings in this one. I really think this line is misaligned given some of their recent matchups, and with a little more uncertainty surrounding the Vikings coming into the season, I think that's also factoring in as well. But I really do believe in the weapons that are still there for this team, and I really do think they can compete in the NFC as well, and I think they could make a surprise statement here. So let's take the Vikings, getting the 6.5 points for 2.5 units, and for an extra half unit, let's take them on the full game money line here as well. For pick number 5, let's head on down to Tampa Bay, where we have the Bucs taking on the Bears, and the Bears looked like an absolute disaster last week. But the Bucs in their own right really weren't overly convincing despite pulling out the W. And I really do think the Bears take a massive step forward this week because they really can't take a step back when they're already at the bottom. And I really do think they make this a ball game. So let's take the Bears, getting the 3 points for 2.5 units. And for an extra unit, let's take them on the money line here as well. All right, for our final pick of the week 2 NFL slate, we are heading on down to Houston, where we have the Texans taking on the Colts. And you guys know my feelings on the Colts at this point. I am very bullish, and Anthony Richardson looked fantastic in week 1 and has been cleared to play in week 2 despite having some injuries at the end of that game. And this line feels perfect given the perceptions that we're battling here. So let's take the Colts on the money line for 3.5 units for our final play of week 2. All right, now we are heading over to week 3 of the college football season, and we are starting off by heading down to Death Valley, South Carolina, where we have the Clemson Tigers taking on FAU. And even though Ohio's defense is stiff, and we mentioned that in last week's video, FAU looked absolutely abysmal, and we did kind of predict that, but with Clemson already having a tally in that loss column, we could really see a rage stomp here out of this team on Saturday. So let's take Clemson, laying the 24 points for 2 units for our first play of week 3. For pick number 2, we are heading down to Houston, where we have the Houston Cougars taking on TCU. And we were on the Rice Owls in an upset win last Saturday over these Houston Cougars, but the Cougs did find their offense and defense late in that ball game and forced overtime despite being down 28-0 really early on, and now they're at home getting 7.5 points against the TCU team that I think is still figuring out given how much turnover they had on their roster, and I really like our chances here for an outright winner on the Cougs, so let's take them, getting the 7.5 points for 2 units, and for an extra half unit, let's take them on the full game money line here as well. For pick number 3, we are heading out to Athens, Ohio, where we have the Ohio Bobcats taking on the Iowa State Cyclones, and despite the Iowa State Cyclones losing to Iowa last week, they were able to find some success late moving the ball, and this defense has a lot of talent and can really compete with a lot of offenses in college football right now, let alone Ohio, who has looked absolutely abysmal in the early goings here. So let's take the square play with the Cyclones, laying the 3 points for 3 units for our third play of week 3. For pick number 4, from Athens, Ohio we go, all the way down to Athens, Georgia, where we have the Georgia Bulldogs taking on the Gamecocks of South Carolina. And South Carolina already has a tally in that loss column, but I really do think they have the makeup of a team that can compete in the SEC all season long, and I think there's a chance that out of the gate here, we could see South Carolina put the fear of God into those Bulldogs. So for 2.5 units, let's take South Carolina on the first half spread of 14.5 points, and for an extra full unit, let's take South Carolina on the first half money line here as well. All right, for our final pick of the week 3 college football slate, we are heading back up to Ohio, where we have a matchup between Toledo and San Jose State, and San Jose State is a team that I think I'm going to be betting quite a bit this season, and they have a QB by the name of Chevin Cordero, who you might remember from playing at Hawaii, and if you haven't watched him, he's a guy that definitely exudes NFL ability, both athletically and as a passer, and San Jose State is quite easily the most battle-tested team in the country right now, having already played both USC and Oregon State, and I really think that's going to help them out a ton as the season goes on here, and as they battle a good Toledo team this weekend as well. So let's take the Trojans, getting the 7 points for 3.5 units, and for an extra half unit, let's take them on the money line here as well. All that being said, I really want to thank you guys for checking out today's video, and most likely no video for MLB picks on Thursday, just because I'm recording this at 10:30 p.m. It was actually my mom's birthday, and we were celebrating it a little bit, and I kind of fell behind on time, so probably no video there, but I will post those picks on Twitter, so be sure you're following me on Twitter at RobDFB, and as always, y'all, I will see you in a future video. Take it easy.